Welcome everybody. I appreciate you joining me in my webinar. This is How to Eat an Elephant, the 5-part process to quadrupling your profits. I'm Larry Earnhardt. I'm your alchemist professor, and I'm a university professor. I'm a small business owner. I've worked in large chemical production facilities with running as an operations manager, running $100 million plus facilities. And I've owned a restaurant, a franchise business. I've done taxes. I've been a financial advisor. Now I'm a business consultant. During this time, I've learned a lot about business inside and out. I've been done pretty much all aspects you can do in a business. And what I'm doing today is I'm bringing you the results of my analysis of business operations and hoping to help you learn how to improve your business. So the process that I'm talking about should be applicable to any business, large or small, and pretty much at any level or any stage of business operations. So first of all, why would you want to own a business? There's a number of reasons why. It includes it being a job. When I bought my restaurant, my accountant, one of my accountant's questions was, are you making an investment or are you buying a job? And that's always a good question when we're doing this, because a lot of small business owners basically are just toiling, living from hand to mouth, and the reality is they're running they bought themselves a job, and it's not really an investment because there's not a value that they've created to be able to impart or sell at the end of it. You want to provide a needed product or service, doing something good, making a product that people want, a service that people want. There's social benefits, connections that you make. You're providing jobs for people in the community. Get to meet people. When I had my handyman business, I sure met a lot of very interesting people, that's for sure. Power, being able to be the boss. You have power over others. But the real reason for owning a business is profit. If you don't have a profitable business, you eventually won't have a business, because eventually the business goes under. So profit is the result of, it's a motivation, it's a real reason for having a business. So what is profit? Profit's the money that's left in your pocket after all the expenses are paid. How much profit do you need? Well, first of all, what are your goals? Do you need a lot of money? Do you need a little money? Do you need just enough to get by? What is it that you want to do with your business? And that's an important thing to think about. Quite often, again, when we're in our day-to-day operation of the business, we're not really thinking about where we're headed. We start a business up. We have a good idea. We have a good product. We have something that the community needs. And what do? We just put our heads down and we go forward trying to make this, and we hope that the business will grow. But the reality is, if you look at what the end result should be, then you can plan and you can try to create something that you can strive for. And in part, this is what we're doing today, is creating something that allows you to figure out what your final goals are. Your goals depend on your vision of the future and your own wants and needs and those of your family. But it's easier to become bigger if you plan for it. So do you want a $50,000 company, a $500,000 company, perhaps a $5 million company? I have a client who decided that she wants to have a $5 million company. And whether she achieves it or not, we don't know. It's a pretty big goal for her to achieve. But by planning to expand, by planning to have a company that may be not just national, but perhaps international in scope, but has departments, has processes, you are going to create something that at least has a possibility of growing. Whereas if you are starting at $50,000 and you allow it to grow without thought, it may grow or it may not grow, but you don't have control over what's happening. So let's do some planning here. Let's think about this. First of all, you notice that the background here is a chalkboard. So I'm in my professor mode here, and we're going to do some chalk drawings. So first of all, we have the cookie jar, or your wallet. And this is where the money goes. This is where the revenues go. This is where the profits end up. And the cookies represent your money. We have a prospective customer. You notice he's a stick figure, his arms are down, he's got a question mark over his head. This is somebody who's heard about your business and isn't sure whether or not he's ready to buy your products. And this is your purchasing customer. This person's got their cookie in their hand. They're ready to hand it over to you in exchange for the product or service that you're providing. And then finally, you have the customer, the happy customer, the person who's bought your product, the person who has decided, you know what, this is a good thing for me. I need it. Here's the money, and I appreciate what you've done. So, again, what's profit? Profit is a function of revenues and expenses. It's revenues minus expenses. So all the money that comes in from all those people, all those customers who are buying, goes into your cookie jar. However, the expenses come out. What are the expenses that you have? You may have a product. You have materials for your product. You have office supplies, sales and marketing expenses. If you have employees, there are personnel expenses. Then, of course, if you have a profit, then you also have taxes. So quite often, there may not be a lot left there. So we're also going to talk about profit margin. Profit margin is one of the common business ratios. It's a very good measure of a company. And profit margin may be very large in the case of a company that makes luxury items or does services. It may be very small in a company like a Walmart or grocery store, which generates about 3 or 4% profit. But it's also a good way to measure your business over time to see if that profit margin is growing or shrinking as well. Profit margin is profits divided by revenues. So you have your profit cookie jar divided by your revenue cookie jar. Now we're going to start breaking things down. What makes up profit? What are the components of profit? A way to look at profit is it's revenues times profit margin. So again, we have our cookie jars. We have our revenue cookie jar, and we have our profit margin cookie jar. Profit margin is profits divided by revenues. Of course, revenues cancel each other out. You're left with profits. Okay, so now we're going to look at revenues, and we're going to put the profit margin aside. We'll come back to that later. So we're going to start breaking revenues down. There are 4 components to revenues that we're going to be looking at. So first of all, we're going to separate it out into 2 components. As I'm sure you're well aware, revenues is a function of the number of customers times the dollars those customers bring to you, which we can call customer value. So in a year's time, you may have so many customers who, on average, have purchased so many dollars worth of goods. And that's what your revenues are. Now, the thing about numbers of customers and their customer value is that's a number that's in the past. Customers are people who have already become customers. They're people who have already paid the money for your business, for your products. So let's see if we can break these down into some more components here. First, let's look at number of customers. Number of customers is a function of number of prospects and the rate at which those prospects get converted into being customers, called the conversion rate. And that conversion rate actually, like many of these ratios in a business, tends to be very stable over time. That if you do very similar prospecting activities and sales activities, you're going to end up with a similar conversion rate. And so that's something that you can use and you can actually fairly well rely on. These are among the ones that you can influence. Now let's break down customer value. Customer value is a function of price, or dollars per customer, times the number of times that customer comes in to your store and buys something. And again, these are the ones you can influence. And these also make up your sales funnel. Now, what's a sales funnel? Okay, well, sales funnel's not that, but I sort of like the picture, so I thought I'd throw it in. Your sales funnel starts with the general population. It could be the entire world as your potential customer base. It could be your community. It could be a very small subset. You may have a very specialized product. The suspects are the people who haven't necessarily heard about your business and who are not right now prospects. if you're doing marketing activities, you have people learn about your business, your products. Those become prospects. Those are the people that you want to influence to become customers. They're people who've heard about you. As you go into, from marketing, you go into selling, and you start asking for orders, those prospects become leads, and eventually they turn into customers once those leads have actually purchased something from you. Okay, so now let's go start looking a little bit more closely at prospects. Your prospective customers are a function of the amount of marketing activity you do. How much you go out, how much you brand yourself, how many times you touch somebody, how many times you connect with them through social media, through sending out flyers, through radio and TV ads. Those are the people who learn about your company, and they will eventually decide whether or not